I think in general, China's growing multidimensional influence in the region creates some really unique policy challenges for the United States. Currently, the trend line for the United States is oriented around global competition with China, and this specifically is predicated upon how do you compete without escalation or to specifically avoiding the risk of confrontation. And this particularly creates unique challenges for U.S. partners who are doing business with China, who are increasing their engagement and strategic cooperation with China, particularly around the question of how do you define contours for our partners from the U.S. perspective of what is acceptable cooperation and where the red lines are.
Well, for the EU, the challenge is that there is many challenges, but I would say there are two concerns. The first one is the question of conditionality. You know, the EU has a neighborhood policy that is conditional to reforms, political reforms, economic reforms, migration, security, while China doesn't have. And so for the EU, you know, that's a problem because, you know, you cannot have development without having political and economic reforms. The second concern for the EU is the question of debt. The EU is very worried about all this money and these funds and loans that China has been giving to many countries in the region. For now, the question of the MENA, you know, debt is not really, you know, on the table. The risk is there, but for Africa, you know, it's another concern because, for instance, just to give you an example, China holds 75% of Djibouti's debt, so that's a real concern for the European Union.
Certainly. I think it creates both opportunities for competition, healthy competition, and opportunities for healthy cooperation. I think, you know, going back to that initial challenge with competition, currently based on the U.S. model of strategic competition, the focus is, you know, pushing back or competing with China, particularly in areas of sensitive cooperation such as defense, technology, and these areas that kind of define and underpin your relations with its partners. But there are other growing areas of regional significance, such as climate change, climate adaptation. How do you help countries adapt? You know, key things on such as climate finance come into this. We're currently entering into a new stage where we have both COP26 this November and COP27 in the UAE next year. So the center of kind of climate policy in the future of the climate agenda will be predicated on the Middle East and Africa in the next 2 years. And these are very powerful opportunities for the US and China to align strategic opportunities together to cooperate on how to advance some of these core areas in the region.
Yeah, I think cooperation is a must. You know, this is China is one of the most popular actor in the MENA region, and the Arab Barometer showed it in 2019 and even in 2020 because the COVID diplomacy has been very effective. The question is that what can the EU do, you know, to be able to project its power? It needs to have a narrative for itself in the MENA region, in where its influence is unfortunately fading. It needs to have, you know, a less inward approach in the sense that, you know, it needs to have a better strategic planning, especially for the region. This is the direct neighborhood. I know that with the war in Ukraine, this might be difficult, but it has to be, you know, able to have this global, if I may say, strategy to talk in a single voice. This is very important. And, you know, the EU have strong points. One of them is, for instance, the EU expertise can be put wherever China's one is lagging. I'm talking here, for instance, about, you know, renewable energies and sustainable infrastructures. The EU can also, on the opposite to China, you know, they can increase local content. And this is very important when you think about the workplace in these countries where unemployment is very high. Usually when the Chinese, they come and they build an infrastructure, they bring with them, you know, thousands of workers, and this creates sometimes resentments and tensions with locals, but the EU doesn't do that because it creates jobs. So this is the strong points of the EU, and it should really focus on its direct neighborhood and here the MENA region.